Hi everyone, and welcome back. If you're like me and the end of the season left you with a bunch of green tomatoes on the vine, don't worry. Today I'm going to show you my version of a delicious salsa verde. You're in the garden with Patrick. Green tomatoes are just unripe tomatoes, but they're very versatile in how you can use them. So instead of them going to waste on the vine or throwing them out, like if they're too small like this one, then what you can do is you can do something with these green tomatoes. There's a tremendous amount of different recipes and different dishes that you can use green tomatoes for. One of the things I do want to show you is when we're making my version of the salsa verde, you can typically and traditionally it's made from tomatillos. Tomatillos are a different type of tomato, and it's a Mexican tomato, and it has these husks on them. You remove the husk, and what you'll see underneath the husk looks like a green tomato. So we're going to make our salsa verde from these green tomatoes instead of the traditional tomatillo. So there's no right or wrong way to take these tomatoes. We're going to roast them though. You can boil them, you can do different things with it. I'm going to use these smaller tomatoes. So we're going to use this instead of some of these larger ones. I'm going to let these ripen and then we'll be able to use these and slice these for sandwiches or that kind of thing. So, but what the first thing you're going to want to do is remove just the pieces that are coming from the tomato, and then I'm going to just take the tomato and you can either, again, cut it in quarters or in halves. I'm going to cut mine in quarters so that they'll roast a little bit easier. So you're just going to cut your tomatoes. There's really no reason to core them. You can see here that there's not a lot of seeds. So we're just going to cut these like that, and each tomato we're going to core maybe just this little piece here, right? And then you're going to, I had about 6 pounds of tomatoes that were left over just before our freeze. And we're going to use about 2 pounds of tomatoes in our salsa verde, okay? So we're gonna cut these up. And I'm going to also use, I've already washed them, we're also going to be cutting up some onion. So we're going to use an onion. I'm going to cut about 1/2 to 3/4 of this. Once you cut it, there's really, if you're going to be roasting it, there's really no need to peel or do any of that kind of thing at this point because all this will come off. But we'll just do that for today so you can see how we're going to just kind of put all this stuff in a blender. We're going to use a food processor today, but you can use a blender. Just cut this off this way. And then again, I'm going to quarter this just so we have that surface area. So we're going to use 2 pounds of the tomatoes. We're going to use about maybe a cup, cup and a half, maybe 2 cups of the onion roasted. And then we're going to take some of our garlic. I'm going to put a link below in our garlic of what I planted. And this is straight from the garden. So you can take that, roast that just like that. And then we're going to take some of these poblanos. You can use jalapenos, you can use serranos, you can use whatever type of chili that you want to use. And we're going to use that chili. And on the chili, you do want to take out the portion that's inside, maybe some of the veins. That'll take out some of the heat, and you'll be able to remove the seeds here. So you can save those for later, but you'll want to take these out. We're going to, again, roast this. But this is the vein that I was talking about. If on these chilies, this vein is what's really the heat, a lot of the heat of the chili. So you can remove that if you want. That will take a little bit of the heat away if you don't want your salsa verde to be too hot. So you can just, and again, however many you want to use of the jalapenos, or we're using poblanos today. However many you want to use will determine the heat of your salsa. So this is a Anaheim that was, again, I pulled this off of the vine, so it's a little smaller than what I would expect, but we can use this. This will work just perfectly in our salsa. So again, here's that vein. So you can just remove that vein. That vein is where the heat is. Okay, so we're going to just get all those seeds out. Once we remove all the seeds, then we'll be ready to take this and put that in the oven. So we're going to use all of this. I'm going to prepare the rest of these that we have, and then I'll show you the next version. But before we do that, I do want to show you sometimes what happens. And again, I'll put a link in the description box below. You'll have some of these tomatoes that are on the vine, and if you put them in either a paper bag, you can also put them in a box in a cool, dry place. The green tomato will start to slowly turn into this color, and then eventually it turns into the red tomato. It does that on its own over a couple of weeks or a couple of months, so you can certainly do that during the course of the year. If you have all of these, you don't want to make any salsas, you can just leave these in a cool, dry place, and they will also start to turn over time. Again, there's all kinds of different versions of, like, people put a ripe tomato in there, and that helps to speed up the process, but it also, I think there's people that have used bananas and, different things. But again, the point is you can use these just the way they are, and they'll just turn red on their own. So let's finish this up. We'll get all these, and I'll show you the final product here. Now, one of the things also that you can use are some of these tomatoes that look a little unsightly. There's nothing wrong with this tomato. This is a completely good tomato. But what you can do is just cut off this part here, and if you notice, underneath that, there's nothing, right? So this is a good way. You may not want to use this or eat this as a regular tomato, but certainly that is something that you can do for your salsa. So we're going to core that out and take this stem portion out, and then now you have a beautiful tomato that you can use, and that will again be another variation of what you can use these tomatoes with. So now I have my 2 pounds of tomatoes that we have cut up or quartered, and again, you can use any size tomato that you want. These are all the green tomatoes left over from the harvest before it froze. I'm also taking my onions and my poblano, or whatever peppers you want. You can use Anaheim green chilies, you can use jalapenos, whatever. And then of course my garlic. And I would say everything here except the onion is from my garden specifically. So again, I'll put some links in how I harvest and plant garlic and all these different chilies also, and of course these tomatoes too. We're going to put this into a 400-degree oven for about 30 to 35 minutes. Put those in a 400-degree oven, and you're going to keep that in there for about 30 to 35 minutes. So this is how easy, once you roast the garlic, if you just cut it, it'll be fine. You can just take these straight out like that. It's super, super easy to do it this way. Now you can do it the different way if you want. Again, you can pull out the cloves and just roast them that way. Either way, it works well, but again, you can just see how easy it is just to peel off the outer portion of this garlic, and you're going to set that aside. But here you have the beautiful large garlic clove. You just pull that out there, and these are ready to go. Okay, now that we've taken our tomatoes out of the oven, we let them cool a little bit, and we're going to add these now into our food processor. You can use the food processor, or you can also use a blender, whatever you have. And we're going to put all those roasted vegetables in there, the onion, the tomatillos, the garlic, and those chilies. We're putting all of that in here, and we're going to mix that up first. A little bit of liquid. Now, during this time frame, I'm also you can add liquid, and the liquid that you can use is just regular water, or you could also use chicken bouillon, or you can make your own using something like this here, the cubes. Take the bouillon cube, put it in some water, let that dissolve, then we're going to add that to our mix here. So in addition to what we have, the onion, the garlic, the different types of peppers that you want to use, poblanos or jalapenos, and onion, garlic, we're going to also put in some cilantro. So you can use maybe a quarter cup or maybe a half cup. It just depends on what your taste is. And then we're also going to add a little bit of lime juice to our mixture. Okay, so again, maybe a quarter cup, just enough to add a little flavor, and then you're going to add maybe a quarter teaspoon of the cumin. Again, this is all to your liking, whatever amount you like to have in there. And then of course we're going to have some salt and put some salt in there too. So we're going to mix all this up and see how it looks. So as you see here, this is going to be pretty thick, and what we're going to do now is we're going to just take that and add a little bit of that liquid that we had here. You'll add a little pinch of salt, and then you can see here how this is pretty thick right now. So we're going to continue to add a little bit of that water, or that bouillon chicken broth mixture. So you're just going to continue to add water till you have a little bit thinner consistency, because this is what you're going to be making your maybe enchilada sauce or something like that. So we're going to add a little bit more water and maybe a little bit more cilantro or salt, depending on how it tastes. I'll take a look at the consistency now. So it just depends on how much you want to put in as far as liquid, and you want to have a consistency something like this, and that is how you're going to make your delicious salsa verde. Let's have a taste test. Tastes exactly like you would if you had the tomatillos in there, and it tastes a little tangy. Again, you can put a lot of different things in there, whatever you feel like you would like to have. You want a little bit more cilantro, you want a little bit more lime, you want a little bit more cumin taste, depending on what you're looking for. But again, you can make your own version with those green tomatoes. Now let's take this, and we're going to can a few. We're going to put it in a can, and that way it'll store for a little while on the shelf, and then also we'll have some for enchiladas, or put some on flautas later at another time. So after we've boiled our cans, our jars, we're going to just put that delicious salsa verde in our jar. I'm recycling some jars of salsa that we've had over the years. Just that's as simple as that. Once you have that filled up to about 3/4 from the top, just going to take your sanitized top. We're going to close that, and then I'm going to fill this other one, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Next, we're going to take our freshly bottled salsa. We're going to put it into a water bath that's about a 1/2 to 3/4 full of boiling water. We're going to leave that in there for about maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and then that will seal the jar, and we'll have salsa verde at a later day. Thanks again for watching, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the like button and also those notifications, the bell. You'll get all the notifications when I publish these new videos, not only in the garden outside when it starts to warm up, but also in the kitchen, and we're making some beautiful salsa verde, the Brandon version from these green tomatoes. Until next time, happy gardening.